Hey and welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to be giving an update as to the current state of the game. So with that, let's get started. So to start off with, I'm gonna show you all the multi-vehicle system that I ended up implementing. It wasn't initially supposed to be in this game. I was supposed to do this in the break between the release of this game and the start of the next tutorial series, but I ended up getting way too excited and ended up doing it now. So to start off with, first we have to create a blueprint structure. So over here, the blueprint structure vehicles. And then in the blueprint structure, we have the data asset, which is a reference to the PDA, which we've been using. Then we have a couple variables, which is the body color, wheel color, the torque variables that we used in the PDA as well, and then all the booleans that otherwise was in the BP save game, but have now been moved over here. The reason for that is that in the where is it? Okay, I didn't open it apparently. So in the performance widget, if you'll remember correctly from the previous video when I showed this, we had the boolean variables for each of the parts, right, which were over here, which is now currently this is what it looks like now. So the blueprint structure is actually saved in the game instance because I need to transport it across different parts of the game. So the game instance is able to do exactly that. So this is where it is, this is where it is, and this is where all the information is stored. So if you open up one of these, this is where everything is. You can see each one is set up to match the information of the vehicle. And then I also have a function in here that just loads the blueprint structure, because you do actually need to load it. So you need to save it and then load it. So in the BP save game, we have a variable here, which is also BPS vehicles, which is empty. This is just used as a holding for the blueprint structure. So how it works is you have a blueprint structure to set up, and then whenever you make changes to the blueprint structure, whether that be in the performance or in, where is it now? Okay, paint, here it is, or in the paint, because this one is also changed, as you can see here. Right, so whenever a change is made, you get the blueprint structure and then you set the members, and then you create a save game with a variable where you then take the blueprint structure and then save it in the one in the BP save game, and then you also need to load this at some point in time. So I had a problem with this initially because I was loading in every single widget, which was very ineffective. So instead what I did was I ended up loading it in the controller. No, this is the game mode. So this is where I set the vehicles for that has been selected in. I'll go into a little bit more detail on that in a little bit. So in the player controller for the garage level, as you can see here, okay, this is for the money. Here we have the load blueprint structure. So the code that I have for the load functionality in the game instance, this one over here, it's a function. And then over in the player controller, I just load it over here. So here I also created a function because I wanted it to look like this instead. Right, so you can see here there's a couple of things taking place. So the first one obviously is the cameras, and then we load the money, and then we load the blueprint structure, and then this is the default camera when you open up the level in the garage level. So that is how all that works. And then this actually is very nice because now we can implement the multi-vehicle system in that each car can now be customized individually from another car. So if you change the one car's color, it's not going to change the other car's color. If you add performance upgrades to the one car, it's not going to affect the other cars because everything is saved individually within the blueprint structure, and then everything goes over there. Now, initially I didn't know about this. I first tried to do this in the PDA because in the PDA it worked, right? But then I ran into a problem in that what happens in the editor doesn't necessarily reflect what happens in a packaged game. So the PDA works well in the editor if you're playing it just in the editor, but if you package it and then you try and do the same thing, it doesn't work because the PDA doesn't actually save anything. It just makes changes, but then those changes have to be loaded again at some point. So that's why I'm now using the blueprint structure instead of that. So this is it. So you only need one save slot. So the save slot I thought of was the strut variable, right? And then you have to hard code this because if you make this a variable, the variable is stored in here, and won't necessarily affect any other place, so it has to be hard coded. And then as well, this is how it looks in the performance. So each one of these has its own thing, and then you save the blueprint structure and then you save the money afterwards. So that's now how everything works. You get everything from the blueprint structure and then everything. And then this variable here, I have this also variable here, it's called vehicle index. This comes from, where does this come from again? Widgets, car select. Okay, so in here currently I have 3 cars in the game. I'm gonna remove one. I'm gonna explain which one that is now. But if you go to the event graph real quick, event graph. So each car has its own button. So there's 3 buttons currently, and then each one has, then there's a variable that I created here which is called vehicle index, and then it's set whenever you click on a button. So it's 0, 1, and 2 corresponding to the vehicles within the blueprint structure, right? And then you also, okay, so here I still use the PDA because it still works. I'm just getting the mesh from here. There's nothing for that because the PDA is a variable in the blueprint structure. So even if you don't extract it from the blueprint structure, you can still use the PDA on its own for things like this when you just need to get the skeletal mesh, or if you need to get something like the vehicle class, then you can still use the PDA on its own. But if you need to customize any of the variables such as the torque, the brakes, the booleans, or anything like that, then you have to use the blueprint structure. You can't use the PDA. And then what happens is in the BP save game, I have a variable also called vehicle index where I save that, and then the one in the BP save game is the variable that I use, or the value that I use across the rest of the game. See, everything comes from, so I load the game from the save slot, which is the same as the one here. It's the save slot vehicle, right? So I load it from there. I first check that it exists, and then I load it, and then from there I get the variable vehicle index where it's 0, 1, or 2, and then that will determine which part of the blueprint structure for the vehicles needs to be used, and then we make changes to it and then just save the whole thing and then load the whole thing again at a different point in time. That's pretty much how everything is set up. So here also we just check, does it just the variable over here, because otherwise it would be fairly lengthy code. So I just want to shorten it, so I don't, because as you can see already it is fairly long. So I just wanted to like shorten it just like a little bit. It also looks a little bit nicer. So that's pretty much how this works. So we get all of that, and then here we set the members of the change variable. So you set it, and then from there, so we set 2 things. So we set the torque value for each car, and then we also set the corresponding boolean, because we've also changed the load functionality, because now it looks like this. So we get all of this, and then here we get all the relevant things. It still functions the same way, it's just we've made a couple changes so that it works better with the newly set up system. And then from there we just save everything, and then we go forth from there. And then this is how it looks in the display mesh load up. This is the code. It pretty much looks the same. We just changed this little part over here and then this here, but everything else is pretty much the same. See over here also, this is for the wheels. And then I could pretty much have done this the same way I did in the other vehicle, but this was done at the beginning when I was still testing out the system. I wanted to make sure that everything is proper. And then this is, like I said at the beginning, this is the game mode. This is just where I load up the vehicle so that it spawns the correct one into the level. And then also in the master blueprint for all the vehicles, you also load the same things. So you get the vehicle color. You also have the brake light, set this up. Then you also have the values for each car. As you can see, it looks the same way. You get that variable, get the save slot, so you can get the vehicle index, and then we just load the corresponding information to the car that has been selected by the player to be driven. So that's pretty much how that looks. And then you can see now also the PP save game has a lot less variables. We only have the necessary one, the best lap and best race, and then we have the vehicle index and then the PPS, and then yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the current state of the game. Let me just show you how it works. So I'm gonna play this in a new editor window. So as you can see, it loads in the color and then if we go to select car, as I said, we only have, I also set this up so you can see the information of each car. It does change depending on which car you have selected, so you can see here the values change depending on which car you selected. So say for example we select this one, and then if you go to performance, right, let me just find something that is relatively cheap. Okay, go with the fuel injectors. So you purchase it, it deducts the money. This one goes up to stage 2, everything else remains at stage 1. If you go, we're gonna go to the paint, change the paint for the body, make it something like this. Go for the wheels, make it something like that. And then if you go out, you see the car has been changed. If you go over to the other car, select this car, you can see it has spawned in with its colors and everything. Then if you go to the performance, we did the fuel injector, you can see this one is still on stage 1 because each car has its own individual setup in the blueprint structure. So each car, nothing will affect anything else. We can go and change this one's paint also. We'll make this one like a blue. Then we're gonna go change the wheel color also, make it like green or something. Make it, you can make it red. Go back, go to select car, select this car. You can see this one has not been affected by any of the other changes to the other 2 cars, right? So the values you see here are the default values. So these are the stock values of the car. And if you select this one, which is the only one we actually customize, if you go to performance, you can see here this car's max torque is now sitting at 372. So this is the modified value for the car instead of its standard 361, right? And then if you go to events and we go to boulevard real quick and then you play, so as you can see the car is loaded with its values. Now the reason why the front and rear wheels are different is because they're using different materials for the front and rear, but you can see that the car's color has changed. So if you go back, just quit this level and then we select a different car. I'm gonna select car number 2, go out and then go load this one up. You can see this one is blue with the red wheels, so it loads the car as it should. And then we're gonna go out and then quit again. Then we're gonna go and select the last car we didn't customize and then go again. So this car loads in with its default colors and everything, so you can see, okay, cool, that's fine. Then we're gonna quit and then we're gonna quit completely. And then I have a couple of errors here which I'm still working on fixing. And then if we just go back and you can see all the cars are loaded in exactly as they were saved. So the multi-vehicle system, it works. There's that one problem with the set vector parameter value, which I'm still trying to figure out. But other than that, there's no other errors. Everything's working fine, everything's being saved, everything's being loaded. No car's value conflicts with the next car's value. Each car has its own setup, completely independent and everything like that. This did take me a while. I spent probably a week and a half trying to figure out how the system works. It was headache inducing, but I got through. I got it to work. I'm happy. I can finally sleep again properly. But yeah, that's pretty much the current state of the game. That's where I am right now. And yeah, until the next video.